How does it get to the point where you go from a solo plumbing business to where you are today?
Well, I loved hearing you talk about this path, and it is a matter of changing your headset. And Howard Partridge says that at first that change is going to come from points of desperation. If you get through that, you get to the comfort zone, and hopefully you can find some inspiration, and that takes you to the next level. I was definitely in desperation. So when I get to this budget and I put I put some numbers in, suppose we doubled our sales, and I put in salaries, for me, I never paid myself. Put in a better salary for my husband, put in raises for my guys. I add up all my costs of doing business. And here's what my mentor taught me. You got to charge more than it costs.
This is revolutionary. That was worth that. That was worth the price of admission on that day.
Like, it doesn't have to do with what your competitors are charging. Like, if you can't afford that, then you can't do that.
Or you got to reduce your costs. I mean, there's the other option, right? I mean, you got to look at, is this necessary? And if so, then I've got to charge for it. And that's really
right. And but most small business owners aren't spending enough. They don't pay themselves. They have crappy tools for their guys. Their trucks are on their last leg. Most expenses are too small, is what I find. Now, later on, it's another problem. When you're big, we have other issues. But when you're small, if you want to break through, you need to spend more money. Where are you going to get more money? You got to get it from your customers. So at this moment of desperation, as I'm crunching the numbers, you can tell it was on a 10 key once upon a time, as I'm putting the numbers together for my budget, I'm realizing I'm going to have to raise my prices. And I had a moment where I thought, fine, no one will pay the prices I need to charge. So that's it. This is a done deal. I will do this. I don't believe it's going to work, right? And then I'll be done with it. I've had it. I was perfectly okay going out of business. I was not okay continuing the life I had. So I quintupled our prices. We went from $30 an hour to $150 an hour, and all I did was make more money. Like, all the fear I had about no one.
You also had the right products, the right people. You had a lot of things in place that you before were trying to not do, right? Like scrimping.
Right, and no one wants to call a plumber. There are certain industries that no one ever wants to call you or pay anything. It's not like buying a cup of coffee, right? It's just nobody wants to ever call you if you're a drain cleaner. So once I got over that and thought,
I never have to call a roofer. That's going to be really expensive.
I got a day off. Let me do some price shopping on roofing, right? You never want to call these people. You never want to call me. You never want to call my company. So what happened is I got my arms around, well, nobody wants to call us, but we can at least have them go, they're expensive, but they're the right guys. They're nice people. They're telling me the truth. They're doing the right thing. Like, there are ways that you can get premium prices for premium service, even doing dirty jobs. So, I mean, long story short, I started to explore, how do you change the ability to communicate the value of those services? You show up clean, sober, on time, dressed right, and you use a checklist. Clean, sober, on time, dressed right, you use a checklist, and you can charge 5 times what your competition charges, even in a dirty job. So these are the things. I went to the seminars, I read the books, I started to really embrace the opportunities. But this is, going back to business planning and your responsibility to create your dreams. As we're doing this, I go to my husband. Now we're making money. Money buys options. This is awesome. And I say, I think we could go to a new area. We could get 5 more trucks. We could grow this thing like gangbusters. And my husband, my partner, the real owner of the business, says to me, I like working all by myself. And at first, my feelings were hurt, but the point is, you get to do what you want. And because I had learned how to make money, what we decided to do is we sold our company to our employees, who still operate our trucks 25 years later and have made great livings for themselves. Makes me super proud. Hot Rod, that's my husband, Hot Rod went off and started his own business and crushed it, even without me. Right? And then I thought, what can I do? How can I serve? I didn't know how I was going to make my dreams come true, but I started to be of service. I wrote articles as a mom of a plumbing shop, mom pop shop. Here's what I learned. Here's how I can help you. I started my consulting business. I got my books written. And lo and behold, what I know, when you're clear on what you want, something will come from the left or the right, out of the blue, that will support your dreams. And I got this opportunity literally out of the blue to be the president of a Benjamin Franklin, the punctual plumber, which just has blown up into this awesome service company. I was the first employee. We went from 0 to 47 locations in under 2 years. And I just used these basic tools that I had learned, nothing fancy. And so this is where, you know how you go from mindset to mindset to mindset. This is where I started to realize, well, if little old me can do this, the sky might be the limit. So I worked with a group of venture capitalists in that last venture, and I'm grateful for those adventures. But after I left there, I thought, I'm going to do this again, but this time I'm the owner. I got my best friends for business partners, and now we're growing another franchise called Zoom Drain. And I'm just applying these basic, simple systems literally all day long. Joseph, I try and fight fancy. The simpler you make anything, the more you can scale it. Right? How simple can we make all these things?
Let's just put that out there for a moment. The simpler you make anything, the more you can scale.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
I got that from Jim Abrams. He said, the simpler you make it, the further you can take it. And I think of it every day. So what are we doing that's putting a rock in the road to scaling by making it too fancy? What's good enough? What are the few numbers that make all the difference? And really, when I track financials, I look at them weekly at the very least. I'll look at some numbers daily. We have run a profit and loss and balance sheet company-wide. Every number is weekly, not wait until the end of the month. The score while the game is on. And I keep it all simple so that you can keep up, that you don't get behind. So the score really woke me up to the idea that this is a game. Another great book, another great mentor, maybe a good guy to have on your show is Jack Stack and The Great Game of Business.
Oh, I know Jack, and I've done The Great Game of Business, and definitely open book management. So and done events with him. So he's amazing. Yeah. But I think your application of it, if you go to like Zingerman's in Michigan and how they use open book management for their entire business, but your application of it relates, I think, to entrepreneurs at a different level, right? Or small business or solopreneurs.
Yeah.
Or I think a lot of those are good in existing corporate settings with large employee bases. Yours really is starting to get inside the head of the entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure we don't divert out from you, because so let's just take that journey. When you sold your business and now you've kind of done your independent consulting and you've got all that behind you in the books, and then there was that pivot into what becomes a franchisable product.
Yeah.
Tell me more about the franchise and what that looks like when you go from the simple to the scale.
Yeah, I was just doing a seminar, and this is, the moment for me was that I didn't know how I was going to make my dreams come true, but I knew I wanted to grow a big company. Like the itch was there, and I didn't know how I was going to do it. At first, I thought I could, make my husband see my dream, but that's not your job. That's why we're still married. Is you get to leave each other alone. My dream was to grow a big company, and I didn't know how I was going to do it. And then I was doing a seminar, and a guy approached me after the seminar and said, I like that, and I like you. I'm looking for a president of this entity we're starting, and we want to be the country's largest home service plumbing contractor. And I said, yes. Now, I had no idea.
And you didn't hot rod to say yes to that. You could say yes on that one on your own.
Yeah.
He could continue to do his solo practice if he wanted.
Right. Like, this is my dream, not his dream. And my husband's probably the most actualized person I've ever met. He does what he wants to do. He's awesome. So, if you start taking responsibility for your own life and your own dreams, what I have found is that stuff comes out of the blue. You put the intention in there, you start speaking of it, you take some steps in that direction. You don't have to have it all figured out. Throughout my life, I've had these just wonderful moments where things came together for me. But I was always clear that I wanted to run a big company. Like, once I got that itch, like, I knew it was there. I was frustrating that I didn't know how it was going to come about, but now I'm much more relaxed about it. I just take steps in the direction of what I want.
So how big is the company you're running? Let's jump to that point we now
I got to knock on wood, because we have an agreement on the table right now, but a sale isn't a sale till you get the signature and the check. And that should happen on Friday. We're going to close our 11th location. And then our total sales across the empire is about 15 million. And our first milestone goal is to be 100 million. Now, that's in sales for the franchisees.